Hello guys, welcome back, and it's now the 8th of June. I thought I'd do a quick tour of the garden, how it's been getting on. It's been about 3 or 4 weeks since, so we're going to start this time just outside rather than in the Pagoda. And we've got a mix of different stuff, obviously aces, etc., from what you've seen before, but now all the cercis are out, so that's really filled in this space. Forest pansy on the right with that kind of green, and the new growth comes out that kind of burgundy purpley kind of colour when it's new, and kind of fades off, as you can see here, from that purple colour to the green, which looks really good. Patio variegata just in the background, that's starting to put on some new growth as well, those glossy leaves. Cercis eternal flame as well, I think it looks fantastic. It goes lime green and then a really reddy kind of orange colour with that new growth as well, so that looks really good. Tree fern, Dixonia Antarctica, all the new flushes now coming out, which is good, so nice lime green at the start. Up here, Tetrapanax, the Rex form, is starting to really put on a good show now. So after that rain, it was a little bit delayed actually this year, but with all the rain it seems to have pushed out some decent growth, and those kind of early leaves are starting to get pretty decent size. Must be from left to right about 70 centimeters across already, which is really good to see. Some of the aces are looking good, so the white varieties, Yucca Gormo and Olivia, giving a nice contrast to some of that kind of darker foliage here as well. I'm not going to go through all of the aces, but as you can see here, Shafra Macrophylla with that kind of new, I think it's Indimentium, where it's got that really orangey colour just to help protect some of that new growth. But you can see there's a really good flush coming out, and this is the older leaves from a year ago at the bottom. That must have been its first flush. These up here were later into the year, and then this is the new growth, which I think should put on some pretty good size, which is good to see. Really fills out this spot nicely. Not hardy though, so that goes into the Pagoda over winter. Brassioopsis mitis, leaves are starting to put on a good show. I think a lot of this is kind of aphid damage. I'll have to see what I can do about that, but still really interesting kind of leaf form on that one. A lot of the cross Trachycarpus are starting to put out some new growth as well, which is good to see. So that one's Trachycarpus waggi and nanis on the right, and then I think this one is a Princeps variety as well. Yucca Rostrata still looking good, as I showed in the last video. That new flush coming out in the centre with that really nice coloured kind of bluey green. Sharp, so don't get your eyes anywhere near it. These have been hardened off now, some of these palms. So this one is, I think is that the Boutia Missionaire? Let me see. No, that's Djiboutia. They're sometimes a little bit more tricky to tell when they're young, but that's starting to go a bit more pinnate and look like a proper feather palm. A little bit slower, but current growth looks really good in it. New Princeps form, Kinley, you can see in here, it obviously had a little bit of rot in the centre, which it's now starting to push out, but it's looking like that new growth that comes through is looking pretty solid. Fortunine Princeps here with that lovely white silvery backing to the leaves, still looking good. So they're starting to fill out their pots, I think, pretty quickly. They have been potted on. Butiagris, it's got a few decent speeds. It was already a pretty good size, but don't know if you can see in here all that. It's got maybe another 1, 2, 3 spears coming through, so I think with some good heat that should really kick on. This feather palm here, Boutia Missionaria, still looking pretty good. Small Jubea chilensis, a little bit of older leaf damage here, but the new stuff that's coming through looks pretty good too. And then I'll just twist you around. The slightly bigger variety, that's just filling out its current pot. It was dug out, decent size. Again, a little bit of damage to the older leaves, but you can see in there a couple of new spears coming through. A little bit of slower grower, that one, but it should be looking pretty good. Then we've got the Brassiops fatioides. I often find actually with this one, I don't know if it's just because it's slightly earlier growth, but it looks much more kind of folded over with a lot of those leaves that come out in comparison to the Midas, which looks flatter. Fatioides is supposed to be a lot bigger, like a Midas on steroids, but I haven't necessarily seen that as of yet. I guess we'll see later on at the season. Some of the aces are doing well down here. A few of the ghost varieties are starting to get a good bit of colour on them. I'll take you through the Pagoda first. A couple of interesting pickups. I'm sure some of you might have seen this for sale, but unfortunately it's sold out. So Pagoda Papyrifera CS1046, the all elusive variety, really blue culms on it, gets to a really good size. Pan Global will sell on, I think they had 100 of these for sale, and it sold out in 20 hours. So less than a day, and they're all sold out. Which obviously is a shame for a lot of people, but hopefully there'll be more plants coming up for sale soon. I think from Pan Global it'll be next year. This was another Berinda. It is Berinda because I can tell by the kind of Norden here that it's a Berinda. Was on Facebook Marketplace sold as a Papyrifera as well. That's the new culms that have come through, and that's the new culms of the 1046. I think it could be. I'm not too sure as of yet, so I'm going to post that up. That was a Marketplace purchase from someone, so we shall see. Over to the right here, the big old bamboo walkway. Oreosulcata, Philostachys Oreosulcata, but a lot of the juvenile growth at the moment from it being just recently dug up, so we'll see how that settles in. Xanthodias are looking good. Euphorbia John Phillips looking really good. I'm really impressed with that. Nice tropical vibe. Vivax, Philostachys Vivax, really big, thick culms on it. See there, and they get bigger than this as well. But that looks pretty good. Putting out some nice new growth as well. We got some more Xanthodias and Euphorbia here, and the Philostachys Oreosulcata Aureocolis with its really red new growth coming through. That's put up a few good culms. I think it's around 10 so far. Obviously with all these Philostachys, they're runners, so that's why it's planted in a raised bed, but there was a lot of good soil, compost, horse manure in there, so they should take off pretty quick. The decision that I've got to make though is I've got a few more Berinda now that I didn't have, is how long will they stay in there. Apologies for a bit of a mess. I picked up some new plants, putting things on and whatnot. We've got the Metapanax Davidi. It's almost like a lime green type colour. I don't know if it was because this was going in the polytunnel, but it's hard enough at the moment. We'll see how it goes. The new Mahonia, which you might have seen on the last video. Subrima Carta, I think it's how you pronounce it. I'm not too sure. That did have some root mealy bugs, so I've just sprayed off all the roots and potted it on. But we're starting to get some new growth in here, which is good. And starting to decorate, you might see on the other ones, with some of the Spanish moss up here. Fatsia Camouflage is starting to put out some new growth. Same with the Euphorbia Excalibur. Unfortunately, this Clematis almandii doesn't like it there for some reason. The rest are doing okay. We've got Schefflera Pauciflora. That's a new leaf there, which is kind of hardened off. Almost like Alpina, in the way it gets that kind of purpley. I don't know if you can see that back there. That purpley coloration to the new leaves looks really nice. That's going to fill this space well. We've also got Brassioopsis hispida. Sends out its new growth in that kind of really purpley colour. It's a little bit late at the party though in comparison to some of the others, but it should be looking good. And some of the ferns are starting to bed in pretty well, and same with some of the aspidistras. They're putting out new growth too. In this bed, all this top flush is from this new camouflage, so that seems to be getting its roots down. And the Impatiens Sango, a little bit crispy on some, but down there seems to be doing okay. We'll see how that beds in. They've been a little bit hit and miss so far. The newish bed, so we've got a couple of the Euphorbia Schillingi in here. They seem to have took off quite nicely, get to a decent height, good filler plant, look somewhat tropical. That kind of dark green and that white vein running through the centre is looking really good. We've got Impatiens down here as well, recently planted, hung by red. If I just take you around here. Another Impatiens, I think this is Pink Nerves, just settling in. I think that kind of, I'm trying to go for that kind of dark green coloration to the side, and that begonia is there, just try and link in with the Phormium veneer with that pinky purple stripe and coloration to the centre of the leaf. Hoping that grows up and covers what's behind it. Mahonia, this is one that's done really well. Mahonia Soft Winter. All this, half of that is all new growth this year. I've just put that on today. And then you might have seen again the recent video from the Rare Plant Fair, Metapanax Davidi. Just going to try and develop that, grow that on. And then we'll get to more of the Brassioopsis. These are the two new leaves. The first leaf, interestingly, came out, but then was quite quickly devoured by something anyway. But I mean, look at, in comparison to my hand, that's Brassioopsis Bordnerii. Not hardy, but you do get some pretty big leaves. Looks like there's some aphids or some sap-sucking insects on there that I'm going to have to try and deal with. But there's the next one, and we've got some more growth coming in behind it as well. Ferns seem to all be settling in really well. So some Dropterus in there. That Heuchera is also putting on some good growth. And just move some plants around. So we've got the Bordnerii here, Brassioopsis Dumicola, which I think I said was one of my favourite leaf shapes. I think it gives a nice contrast because it's also a very different colour. It's much darker green, this one as well. And I have to take you around here to Brassioopsis minor. This one I'd imagine is definitely not hardy. I think it comes from a much lower altitude, maybe in Burma, I think it might be from. So that's going to be in the point hole, that's not getting planted out. Whereas the Dumicola, I've heard reports of people have grown that unsuccessfully outside. So I do have a backup, as you might have seen. So that might be a tester at some point. Spotty Dotty down here seems to just be settling in. It hasn't done too much down the left, but this begonia is taking off pretty well, as is the Begonia luxurians next to the Ursa ambigos with that kind of really pinky purple and green variegation through that. As I've said before, a lot of the Ursa's change depending upon the light levels you've got, so that's probably worth checking out and thinking about because they do pair well with tropical plants. Strobilanthus, I mean, look at that new growth. Looks brilliant. So that's just been potted up. We'll see how that does. And then we've got the smaller Brassioopsis Dumicola, the kind of backup plant. And then the Scheffera Laxuscula, however you pronounce it. Bit more of a shrubby Scheffera reportedly, so again that's just staying in here, but I think it pairs quite nicely with where it's at the moment. If I take a little bit of a step back, we've got the Cyathea medullaris, the black tree fern. Just bought a much bigger pot that was full with roots. So, and I think I was quite surprised actually, it's got a little black pot underneath just to catch some of the excess water. That was full up a couple of days ago on the old pot, but it had drained in the space of a day. I think you'd be surprised as to how much water these things do take up when they're grown. This Panax, looking really good. This podifying with more of the kind of cut leaf shape, and I've picked up, of course, a couple of interesting podifyings for people that are interested, from desert to jungle. So this one here, podiphyllum, which one is that? Kaleidoscope. And then also podiphyllum delavi, which if you search on some of the pictures, really interesting leaf shape. It goes almost like a reddy pink and really variegated. So these are the juvenile leaves, supposedly. I got this from, I think it's Rob down at Desert to Jungle. Been down to him for quite a few things. He's got some good stuff in. And that's the normal kind of spotty dotty. So we'll see in time, how do they compare. And then we've got the plant wall, Cyathea cooperi. You can see these this leaf in the centre here. That's the new frond has been pushed out, much kind of a lighter green than the rest. But we've got a whole mixed bag of stuff. Obviously the spotty dotty down the bottom, nice begonia here too. But everything in the bottom half is looking really good. I just need to find some more plants that will cope with slightly drier conditions to put up there. Let's twist you around. We've got the Cyathea dealbata, that's settled in pretty well. I mean, I haven't had it for long, maybe a week. Potted that up because it was pretty full with roots. Another recent purchase as of today, Schefflera Bordnerii, so much more strap-like leaves than many of the other Schefflera, almost like thin fingers. So small plant, but hopefully it does well. And then we've got a small Heniba here, which I'm just going to kind of grow on at the moment, and Manihot grahami. Again, mixed reports for this. I've heard that a few people, when they're a couple of foot high with a really woody stem, obviously they die back over the winter, but they do shoot from a bit lower down. This is still really, really small. You can see on the left here, this was where it grew to last year, and it's got a little offshoot, or a couple of offshoots now, but really cool leaf pattern to it. So something that's quite interesting. I know they're quite difficult, I think, to grow from seed. Got some of the Aspidistra as well. This is a Kame with a really kind of white and almost silver variegation running through it. Starting to send out some new leaves. So that's the Pagoda. I'll take you through to the main part of the garden. So it's just a bit of a whistle-stop tour, so not much editing necessarily going into this. I don't have too much time. I'll give you a quick look in the greenhouse. You can see that some of the Canna musifolias seem to be doing pretty well. Still waiting on a few though to get going. A lot of colocasia in the back as well. So Redemption and Pink China are putting on some pretty good growth with the extra heat. Got loads of little Pink Chinas come through as well that I didn't even realise that are mixed in with some of the Cannas like Wolf Song and everything else. But it's getting there. Now into almost the main part of the garden, Brahea armata with that really silvery leaf. You can see pushing out those new spears. Looking really good. When that happens, sometimes you find the old growth, does obviously die off. Waggy Princeps, same thing, putting out some new growth, looking pretty good. Right, look at this bed initially here. So we've got the Montbelliardi banana, much more bright growing to the onset Morellii. I think that was already 2 meters tall, but it's put out 2 new leaves, and I think it's been in the ground for maybe a couple of weeks. The cannas, I've started to plant some cannas in there. So this smaller one in the middle is the Bird of Paradise, I think one of my favourite. We've then got another couple of variations as well, which I'll show you in a second. This hosta, relatively slug repellent. I think it has much thicker leaves than some of the other hostas. So this is the old Bird of Paradise. Here's another canna. And then we've got another couple planted in over here as well. It's just small at the moment, kind of Weymouth. And then another Bird of Paradise, which is quite small at the moment. So hopefully they get going pretty quick. Got lots of pots that I need to get rid of. I'm putting everything up in the black pots now. Just think it looks a lot cleaner. And then we've got the Haniba, same thing, planted at the same time as the Montbelliardi. Put out a couple of new leaves. Red Dragon's already been cut back, the Persicaria, but great little filler plant for people. This Mahonia, soft caress, nice, should be evergreen. I need to split this up as well, and then the bamboos are starting to go and reach up for the sky. So this is Brunda Yunnan 2, should get that nice blue coloration, probably not to the same extent though as 1046, but still a really good plant to have in the garden, a bit smaller. And then we've got Crocosmia, I think that's Lucifer on the right. I planted up the other variety as well pretty recently. This division of Brunda 1046 seems to be going well. I just need to get a bigger pot for that one actually. And then we've got another Brunda Yunnan 2 here. Into the other main part of the garden, as we step through here, you can see the tree ferns, one on this side with a slightly smaller one there, and the other on the left of the garden have really pushed out all their new fronds and are starting to harden off. Here's another view of that Brunda. I think it's 20 new culms up on this one. Trachycarpus fortunei, which flowered, it was probably half that height when it went in. That seems to be settling in really well, so definitely buy a smaller plant of Trachycarpus like this kind of size, and rather than the kind of big 6+ footers, and it'll catch up in no time. The Waggy again is putting out some good growth. We've got some small Musa Basdew down here as well. The Regersia looks brilliant. We've got even things like Spotty Dotty hiding around at the back here with a lot of hostas. And on the left here, Scheffler rhododendrofolia. Loads of new growth, so I'm really excited to see what that does. And then nice down at the bottom, recent one, Begonia Torst that was planted. Spider's Web, that's been in a couple of years. It hasn't put on loads of height, but I think it's been cut back a lot and sent out lots of new side shoots. And then Scheffler Delavai, so went from a single stem to 3 stems. I think that's going to fill out a pretty decent space soon. And then we've got the other Brahia armata, bit of old winter damage on there, but some of these new leaves are starting to look okay. It's good to see some green on there for once. If you watch some old videos, you'll have seen that it was struggling a little bit. Scheffler Alpina, fortunately there was a little bit of damage on some of that new growth because of I think ants were taking the aphids to feed off the sap, but hopefully it's going to be getting there. We've got some of the variegated Persicaria as well. Some of the Agapanthus are coming through. This needs a little bit of a tidy up. and some of the colocasia. Fortunately, in this corner, we've got a few good things that are happening. Montbiliardi seems to have settled in really well. We've got the Tetrapanax Rex variety as well, which is come back. But I think you might remember one of the videos of us digging out one of the Berinda 1046s, which is this one here, which was cut back. Or I took some of the stems off to try and promote some of the growth. But hopefully you can see it's sending out a new culm, which is really good to see. So I'm really pleased about that. Some of the gingers are coming through, and I've managed to find a plant for this spot here. It's showing no signs of coming back. This is the Butiagris. So hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have something to fill this space, which it needs. Got some of the salvias as well, either side of this metal planter, just to try and give it a little bit of colour. And this bamboo as well is one that I'm waiting to show. This was one that we moved, so we'll see what happens and if it shows any new signs of life. So apologies, it was a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the garden, but hopefully it's a bit of an update as to how it's getting on. There should be a lot more to come now. I think it's really in the growth stage, so I'm excited to see how it turns out in another month's time. It's looking like we're starting to get some heat as well, up to mid-20s I think next week supposedly, so that should help kick things on. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.